You're listening to Dr. Emma and me on the Tudors Dynasty and Beyond podcast. And now, here are your hosts.
Hello and welcome back to the show. I'm Rebecca Larson and it's Thursday, so that means it's time for Dr. Emma and me. Welcome back, Emma.
Oh, Dr. Emma couldn't come, so it's just me.
Oh. That's weird. You look just like her.
I'm her evil twin.
Oh, I'm in trouble then. If I can't keep Dr. Emma in check, how am I going to keep her evil twin in check?
Oh, well, you'll find out soon enough.
This is going to be a wild episode, you guys. It's Thursday.
You can already tell, right?
Yeah. I was like, it's Thirsty Thursday. Guess what I have?
Oh, yeah.
I have my Diet Mountain. Do you have your coffee?
And I have my coffee.
It's funny because normally she has water. She has a glass of water for every episode. Suddenly, it has switched to coffee, which tells me...
I'm the evil twin. I don't drink water. I drink tears of my enemies and coffee.
Oh, my gosh. You cry. I think I like the evil twin.
Oh, she's wonderful.
I drink tears of my enemies.
I think I heard that somewhere. It's not mine. You know me and all my ideas are someone else's idea.
Yeah. I love it though, because look, it turns into great things like Parallel Lives episodes.
Right. Yeah. What was my idea yesterday that I had?
I don't even remember did you give it a title?
I did. I was Impossible Tinders.
Oh, yeah.
Let's see if people like that idea. We'll throw it out there.
Okay, go for it. You throw out your idea.
Okay, I'm going to pitch it. Can I pitch it just a little bit? Impossible Tinders?
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be funny to know if we didn't have the restraint of time, right?
Yeah.
And we could date anyone from it would be a good idea to ask the listeners who they would date from. We all know you would date Henry Cavill, but that's not the point. If you could date someone from historical times, right?
Yeah.
And I thought it would be funny to parallel Tinders, it all comes together. Impossible Tinders is about pairing people who really can't really date because they're not in the same time frame. And since we're coming up to do the Super Bowl, we're having the biggest star on earth, Bad Bunny, doing the halftime show. I thought it would be funny to do an episode where we paired someone like Bad Bunny with someone like Catherine of Aragon, and see what their profile Tinders would be like, what their first date would be like, where would they date? Would they date in the 16th century? Would they date in the 21st century? That's what I get for going to the gym, guys. My mind drifts away.
I was going to say too, and how did I react?
Rebecca was like, what are you doing? What's wrong with you? Are you safe now?
She texts me. She's like, I'm at the gym. And then she sends me like 15 texts. I'm like, oh, you're working out pretty hard, huh?
Well, at that point, I was in the cycling machine. So I was acting like I was this like corporate person just texting really.
Yeah. You're like on your bike and you're like,
exactly.
I'm sending
Sorry,
emails.
Very important emails I couldn't send throughout the day. I have to do it now that I'm in the gym. And the only reason why I texted Rebecca from the gym is because I never go to the gym and I wanted to brag about it.
So I feel like when I text you and I'm like, oh, I worked out today. And then I make it like 3 days of working out and then I get lazy and I'm done.
Yeah, I'm done for the next 6 months. Yeah.
Oh, you guys.
Yeah. I think there's people who will relate to this, to the I'm going to work out. And you go one day and then you're like, maybe not for me.
I know. I've never been one of those people that makes the New Year's resolution and says, I'm going to go to the gym. I never do because I know it's not a reasonable goal to set. You can't go from not going to the gym to suddenly going to the gym all the time. It's just not reasonable. So for
me, it's like you, Rebecca. Everything in life is gradual for me. Yeah. I can never leave something or start something and just pick it up and do it or leave it, right? It has to be a process for me of slowly but surely either picking it up or leaving it. So I think most people can relate to that.
Yeah, I think so. See, this is why I'm doing my Spanish lessons 5 minutes a day, because I knew if I set a realistic goal that I would be able to continue with that. And I have been.
Good.
Going to the gym, or I don't like going to the gym, so I just have
Right.
I have a piece of
Because you need your
equipment.
5 minutes for the Spanish lessons, right? So you don't have time for the gym. I get it. I get it.
I didn't have time to sit and watch that
Sorry, doing my
movie.
Spanish.
I can make
Hola.
You would never know that I was an athlete when I was younger. You would
Me
never know
too.
that because yeah, I just, used to love working out. I used to love running and lifting weights, and now I just can't be bothered.
Age.
Yeah. But we're now at
Age.
an age where we're supposed to be lifting weights and doing all of these things for our
Aging sucks. I
It
know.
does. I just
It
feel like
does.
I've gotten lazier. I really
As
have.
you do, yeah, you don't have the same stamina in your 40s than you have in your teens. That's for
I-
sure. And I think a lot, sports is ingrained in school life. So it's kind of like no option really. So you just with your stamina and again, you have to go to school every day. So people just get in the habit of doing sports, which is great. I think it's a great thing. So
it
yeah.
is. Well, now
So
that
yes,
we
guys, I did go to the gym yesterday. Thank you very much.
love it.
You can now send all the praise in your comments.
That's good. Yes, guys, I did eat a full bag of chips yesterday. You can send me all the praise you want.
And let me know what you think about Impossible Tinder, because I think
Yeah,
it's a good
yeah,
idea. I
yeah.
mean, it's just a funny idea. I like to bring a funny twist to the seriousness of historical talk because when people listen to a podcast, they want to have fun.
Yeah.
That's yeah.
And I think we've discovered, I feel like maybe we're feeling a little burnt out on parallel lives and
A
that
little
it's
bit.
time to change it up a little bit. So, just so you guys know, we've talked about this a little bit more behind the scenes. There may be some changes coming, but it's still going to be Dr. Emma and me. We're still going to be talking about history. It's still going to be fun. We just might not have it attached to a series like Parallel
Just gonna
Lives.
be with the evil twin from now on.
It's the
So
evil
you
twin.
never know what you're getting. You might get a title, the topic might be something else. Who knows?
Right. We might. Yeah. Who knows? Anyway, so
We're still
today's.
doing parallel lives today, aren't we?
Yes. Yeah. So maybe this might be the last parallel lives for a little bit.
Yes.
Doesn't mean that we won't bring it back if something sparks our imagination.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean we won't do a historical Tinder if something sparks our imagination.
Yes.
We're just going to kind of go with the flow. We got to keep things fresh. That's one thing that I've learned doing this podcast is if you do the same thing every week, it just gets to be boring, monotonous, and just
Yes. And who likes that?
not
If we
me.
like that, we would go to the gym every day. So, no, not for us.
Okay, all right. So today,
Today.
parallel lives. So we're
Parallel.
we're doing. I know you guys are probably getting tired of hearing us talk about these same people over and over, but we're gonna do it again today. Okay.
Okay.
Today, our parallel lives is a mother and daughter duo. We're looking at
We
Anne.
have to do this one. We've done, this is the most iconic mother and daughter duo in English history, really.
Yeah,
So, we had to do this episode. I think it was a must.
it was inevitable, right, that we
It
would
was
do this.
inevitable. Yes, yes,
Okay,
yes.
all right. So today we're doing Anne Boleyn and
Who's
Elizabeth.
that?
You do this every time
I'm
now.
the evil twin. I don't know about Anne Boleyn.
I think the last episode you asked me who Anne Boleyn was too, and that was not your evil twin. Oh no, it was because you were drinking coffee. Okay. Anyway,
Okay. Anyway,
focus. We need to get the
focus.
focus back. Anne Boleyn,
Forward focus.
guys, squirrels, shiny things. It doesn't take much for us to get
Yes.
distracted.
Anne Boleyn. Anne Boleyn, Henry VIII's second wife.
Yes.
Catherine of Aragon's arch nemesis.
Yes.
Despite recent trends to make them feel like they're very friendly to each other. No,
Yeah.
they hated each other big time. And her daughter, arguably the most famous English monarch of all time.
Yeah, I'd say that's a pretty fair statement. Yeah.
Well,
Was
she's top 5, top 3 anyway.
easily most well known, most recognizable. I mean, when you have a nickname like Gloriana,
I know.
it's gonna.
I know.
I need a
Well,
nickname
and
like
we can talk about nicknames and a lot of the things that Elizabeth developed were started by Mary the First, really. Like the Virgin Queen, that was something that Mary really developed because Mary associated with the Virgin Mary
Yeah.
because of her namesake. So we can talk about that. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So,
Very different Gloriana to her mother, right?
yes, her
And very
mother's,
similar. And that's why we thought we could parallel them because it's funny how your life circumstances change so much the way you act, which I think they had pretty similar characters, right? In the way they addressed people. But it's very different when you're a consort than when you're a ruling queen, right?
yes. Well, should we start there? I don't know even what like do we start at the beginning like and look at their education or do we just jump in and do whatever we want today? You are the evil
Yeah.
twin.
Yeah, the evil twin thinks that's a good idea.
Yeah.
I think we could start at the core, right? The core is that one, and we go back and forth with this, but I think this is very important that women's lives are definitely altered by women's lives in the 16th century by their position in court. And we love the 16th century and the Tudor dynasty because there's a lot of women in power, but this had not been the typical thing. So really, Elizabeth I is abnormal in the sense that it's not, the only previous queen that had ruled England was her sister, Mary,
Yeah.
so, just for 5 years. So the 16th century, the Renaissance, really, and the circumstances in these dynasties, and we can make parallels maybe with the Spanish monarchy.
Mhm.
I'm the evil twin, but I know things about the Spanish monarchy too. Um, it's at the core of why we see this change in women. As soon as you grab power, you can behave a certain way.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, a big similarity and difference at the same time between Anne Boleyn and her daughter is you can be assertive and you can, for a woman and all those things, if you have power or while you have favor
Yeah.
if you're a consort, right? Because Anne Boleyn does come across as someone who had a lot to say,
Yes.
yes, and who asserted her position in court when she had one. But at the same time, I think that was her downfall. Don't you think?
Yeah, I've always thought um Anne Boleyn's opinions, her voice, wanting to be heard
Mm-hmm.
was way I don't like to say she was ahead of her time, but she was out of place in the 16th century
Mm-hmm.
for being that way. Do you think that's because of her time spent abroad?
Yes, yes and no. I think that she saw, because of her time abroad, and let's remember, she went first to the court of Margaret of Austria in Malines. So that's roughly what today is Belgium, the Netherlands, that kind of area. And then she was in France, in the court of Francis I and Queen Claude, who was really who she served, right? She saw a woman rule because Margaret of Austria was ruling in the name of Charles V in the court of Malines.
Yeah.
So I think that gave her a sense of what assertive women could do. But again, a woman with power, right? A
Yeah.
woman who had power. So she definitely saw that. It's very different to what other women experienced, right? Women who, for example, grew up in the countryside in England, right?
Right, right.
It's
Yeah.
it's very different seeing a woman rule and being in charge of everything. And then in the court of France, I think she saw women with a lot of power in France was very different. But I think in France, and this has been argued by several historians very convincingly, she got in contact with the Reformation and the things that were changing religiously that I always want to tie to, and it's very important to not forget these are things tied to humanism and the Renaissance.
Yeah.
So one of the biggest things about the humanist movement is that they believe that girls should be educated and that it was good for girls to be educated. And when you educate people, they start to have their own ideas.
Yeah, and some men don't like when women have ideas.
Exactly, exactly. And then just people in general, people in power, right? It's a power struggle, really. Another thing that I would say that was in favor of Anne Boleyn is probably at the beginning when she came back to England, and we all know that she participated in court festivals, and that's probably when Henry VIII caught her, right? I think that she learned things in France and in the Netherlands that, made her really, let's say it because I'm the evil twin, nobody cares, very sexy
Yeah.
for a 16th century monarch like Henry, who was always very in tune to bringing in the latest things from the European continent. So being a bit cheeky, flirty, and being extremely young, as we've talked about, a lot of stamina, lots of ideas, lots of a bit of a not so much of a filter as someone like the ruling queen at the time, the consort Catherine of Aragon,
Right.
who had to, be in her place more, right?
Yeah.
So a lot more freedom. That's what I'm saying. A lot more. In that sense, I think Elizabeth and Anna are similar. In the beginning, and Elizabeth had it throughout her reign, but in the beginning, Anne had a lot more freedom than another woman like Catherine of Aragon would have had, who was more constrained about her role that she had played already for 20 years, don't you think?
Yeah, well, we always talk about how Catherine of Aragon was raised, right, to be a
Right.
queen. So and we always use the word stoic. She just had this stoicism about her. That's a word, right? Yeah.
Yes.
She had that about her where it was just part of her character. Whereas I feel like Anne Boleyn, that wasn't ingrained in her from little on. She was more fiery, is the only way that I know how to describe it.
Yeah.
She more of a loose cannon, maybe, but in a slightly more restrained way. And she probably learned that from her time in Margaret of Austria's court or in the French court. But I think they're two totally different women to me, Catherine of Aragon and Anne
Yeah.
Boleyn.
Well, and think about this. Catherine of Aragon was raised to be a queen. Anne Boleyn wasn't, even though she
Yeah.
was highly educated, she was educated to be a lady in the court of Henry VIII.
Yeah.
The fact that she married Henry VIII is something that does not correspond for the education she received. So again, I'm going to go back to the freedom that she had because she didn't have that pressure of you are going to become the queen. But in the case of Elizabeth I, her education was good, but I think in this sense we don't know that so much more about Anne Boleyn's early childhood. We know that she got on with her brother and sister very well and all that, so she seems to have had a very nice upbringing, Hever Castle, and all these things. But in the case of Elizabeth I, even though she becomes Gloriana, she has such a troubled time in her early childhood that I think that forges her character as this courtier that never fully reveals her intentions, right?
Yeah. It's funny that you say that because as you were describing Anne Boleyn's upbringing, I just kept thinking stable. She had a stable life growing up, whereas her daughter most definitely did not. And what does the instability of being tossed aside, having your life threatened, what do things like that do to a person's psyche? I mean,
Confronted to your sister from day one, because really what happens is Elizabeth is born, and so Mary is made a bastard and is asked to serve in her sister's new household.
yeah,
She's given the things of Mary. So even though Mary later on has a relationship with Elizabeth, you can't fix what has been broken from the very beginning. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah,
So even though Mary showed love for Elizabeth, that was a strange. I think Elizabeth just even though she ruled and became Gloriana and all that, she never felt safe.
Can you
Whereas Anne
imagine?
Boleyn comes across as someone who feels safe and sure of herself, and just she's been shown the world, so now she's ready to take on the world and change it, right?
Yeah, imagine how scary it would have been for Anne Boleyn to even feel that safety and security at the beginning of her relationship with Henry VIII. And
Hmm.
then suddenly at the end, she gets arrested and that's all thrown out the window and she has no idea what to expect. So I think there's some parallels there as far as Anne Boleyn's fear, being locked in the tower, maybe not quite understanding why she's there.
Exactly. Yes.
Elizabeth felt those same
Already being a
things.
mother too,
Yes.
which anyone can relate to that. The fact that the fear of what happens to you is enormous, but then what is going to happen to my daughter,
Yes. That would
right?
be scary. There's nothing, as a parent, I think there is nothing more terrifying than um, thinking your child is in danger one way or
Oh,
another. Just the constant loop in your brain. How can you protect them? What can you do to save
exactly.
them? You will sacrifice yourself for your child.
Exactly. So I think in that sense, it's a difference between Anne Boleyn and her daughter because Elizabeth decides not to have children. Well, Melanie Taylor thinks otherwise.
Yeah.
But definitely, let's go with the official. She never had children, right? Do you
Yes.
think that that was a contributing factor? It had to be, right?
A contributing factor in what?
That she never married and had children was that she didn't want
Mm.
that to happen to her offspring. I think she
Yeah.
knew very well how tumultuous the English crown really was. And that's why we like it a lot. That's why we love going back to the Tudors because all the things happen and this and that and the other. But think about the things she saw as a little girl, right? She saw her mother being executed. Then she sees Jane Seymour die.
Hmm.
And then Catherine Howard's execution, too.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then she's raised by her stepmother, Catherine Parr, and she has somewhat of a, I think it's always really sweet when you see the translations that Elizabeth and Mary do during their time that Catherine Parr is really taking care of them.
Yeah.
Translations from Latin. So these are very highly educated little girls. But then she dies too.
Yeah, from childbirth. So I'm sure that was something to do with it too. And of course, you're queen regnant, you're unmarried. The If she did get married and get pregnant, there was always the risk that she could die and the Tudor dynasty would die with her. I feel like that was probably something that was always in the back of her mind, how to elongate this dynasty that her grandfather started.
Yeah, and the vulnerability too, right? When you're pregnant and still in the 21st century. So imagine in the 16th century, right? I'm the ruling queen, but if I get pregnant, and again, let's not forget, and we've talked about this before, the dynasty would have changed because the male name or the male line was the one that prevailed, right? So she didn't have many. Did she have any cousins? Tudor cousins? I don't think so, right?
Oh, well, I guess if we look at the children of Margaret Tudor in Scotland and then Henry's children.
Yeah,
So, I
but those are
mean,
Stuarts.
yeah, that's right. None of them had the last name Tudor. You're right.
No. It's all down to Henry VIII's incapability to have male heirs. Sorry, Henry.
It was your fault. It was all your fault. It was
That's why
none.
he went crazy. That's why he went crazy. It would be one of my favorite things would be to, if you have it like again, I'm thinking about going back in time, back and forth, but imagine waking up Henry VIII in like 1588, right?
Yeah.
This is who's ruling
Yeah.
your kingdom, and it's his Gloriana daughter in her full gown, like these gowns that she had in that time
Yeah.
when, the Spanish Armada and all of that. Imagine Henry's face
Yeah. He would have
and
been,
tell him all the achievements that you had done until then, right?
yeah. His first thing would have been like, where's Edward? What happened to my
Yeah,
son?
right.
That's all he would have cared about at the very, very beginning was,
Well,
where's my male
Edward
heir?
was not the he had another son that died, so I think Henry probably died thinking that his son wasn't, so secure in the throne, right?
Gosh, that
Because he
I
wasn't like the strongest kid either.
well, I feel like they were so like he was treated so delicately, Edward, the way that they made sure that his palaces were like sanitized daily when he was little. Like, I think we know now enough about science to know that you don't keep germs away from small children because the children need to build an immunity to germs. And Henry
Yeah,
is
but
like,
20 surgeries, the germs, and we have medical doctors, and we can go to the, ER and things like that. It's very
yeah,
different I mean, these people were still using, this is a pre-scientific time where they were still using things like astrology to predict health
yeah,
and things like that. So in this time, I'm going to side with Henry VIII
yeah,
because it's true that it was scary, the sweating sickness. Remember when Anne Boleyn was sick for all that time too,
yeah.
and oh, when Arthur dies, Arthur was also raised like that a bit, and Henry was certainly. I think it was just he was a boy, and if he died, that was it, for
Hmm.
Henry, and really for a king, that was his main concern. It was the continuation. It was his legacy if you
Yeah.
didn't have that. So I think that's why Elizabeth the First is such a iconic figure in history. And she has to get this a little bit from her mom, obviously, is because she decides to switch this up and be like, no. What I never got about, and I don't know if you agree that this is something maybe of a bit of a Anne Boleyn residual thing, is the fact that she never named an heir.
Yeah. Well, now
It's intriguing, isn't it?
technically speaking, did Mary ever name an heir?
Yes. And when she wrote her will, it was it
Yeah.
was Elizabeth.
Oh, she did. Okay. Why was I
Yeah.
thinking she didn't? Maybe I'm confusing stories here, but I think Elizabeth, it does baffle me a little bit, especially when she's on her deathbed. She has to
Mm.
know that she's dying at the end. And yet she is still unwilling. She is just, and at that point you would think, okay, well, I'm going to die. Somebody needs to come to the throne. This is my country. I want it to be left in good hands, but nah, I'm just going to let them figure it out.
Yeah, it would have been cool to interview Elizabeth at that time to
Yeah.
really know what she was thinking. Would she have told you the truth? I don't think so. Because
Yeah.
that's what I think is the main difference between mother and daughter. Is I think that Elizabeth never quite told us what she thought really about things because of this fear of being, so for example, when she's involved, and I'm using air quotes here, in the Wyatt Rebellion,
Right.
and at least she knew about it. Did she not tell her sister out of fear, or did she not tell her sister out of ambition?
Yeah. And we just don't know the answer to that.
I think I think fear always played a factor. I think when you are torn like that from your mother's hands at a tender age, fear has to play a fact is a factor and throughout your life
Yeah.
and all your decisions.
Yeah.
Ambition, yeah, too, right?
I definitely think fear played a part in her not naming an heir throughout her reign as well, because once she named an heir, then there was a target on her back. This is somebody that could supplant her. There could be a rebellion to put this person on the throne because a group of people didn't like what Elizabeth was doing. I can't imagine what it would have been like living as Elizabeth, constant knowing what has happened in the past. Probably, she was smart, she was educated, she knew history, um, so she knew how things could play out. How could she name an heir? How could she say, well, this person would be a good heir, and then suddenly they're on the throne instead of her?
And you're very right. And I compare a lot Elizabeth the First to another her namesakes. We could have done a parallel lives on these two. Isabel the First of Castile,
Mm,
right?
yeah.
And Elizabeth. But the thing is, think about this. We talk about Isabel like she's this almighty queen, and she was, but she always ruled with her husband.
Yeah.
So she did find someone from her same dynasty, and that's why they continued. That both Trastamaras are like second cousins, right?
Mhm.
But when she is fighting for the throne, she's he's fighting the battles for her. So without the support of a man, it was very difficult for a woman to rule.
Yeah.
And I think one of the main fears that Elizabeth had and why she didn't marry, because remember when Mary the First dies in 1558, Philip of Spain asks Elizabeth, "Hey, do you want to marry me?"
Yeah, so creepy.
Well, you know,
Well, it was okay
they were not
if
that far in age. They were not related.
but it's like Catherine of Aragon being married to Arthur and then being married to Henry VIII, you know,
I
that
think it's creepy to us, and to them, it was just like a
yeah.
Tuesday.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
He's like, this
Oh,
makes sense. I know how this works and I'll help you
well, it
out.
makes sense because the machine of the Spanish monarchy with the English monarchy was already in motion at that time
Yeah.
with the marriage of Mary and Philip. So it would have been a continuation of that, right?
Yeah.
But she obviously says no. But that what happens? She gains an enemy.
Yes.
Philip, I mean, I don't know if you know about this, but Philip and Elizabeth didn't like each other very
There,
much.
there was this little thing called the Spanish Armada.
Yeah, yeah. I will always remember, and I'm sure the listeners will remember that amazing, a bit over the top interpretation by Kate Blanchett of
From
what's the movie called Elizabeth? I think it was called Elizabeth.
yeah, there was two. I don't remember which one was which,
Well,
but
the
yeah.
one where there's a scene where she is shouting at the Spanish
Mhm.
ambassadors and saying that she can roar like the wind and this and that.
Mhm.
But it's the reality. You rejected Philip of Spain and he didn't like it.
Right. He's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Do you know how many people want to marry me and you're rejecting
Exactly.
me?
What, like, you're the daughter of Anne Boleyn. How dare you reject me?
Yeah. She's like, no, thanks. Hard
No,
pass.
yeah, no, I don't think so. Not quite yet. You're a Catholic, so ooh, not happening.
Yeah.
But yeah, I that's the problem too, that all these guys is flooding her with proposals, and when you reject them, they take it hard because this is
Yeah.
not like sending you little notes under the table. This is putting on a full display like a peacock, right? To
Yeah.
to try to marry you. And the guys, you know, kings and dukes and things like that in the 16th century had big egos. Guys,
Yeah. I feel like Elizabeth did a lot of rejecting during her reign. You know,
that's why we love her.
Robert Dudley held this huge party at his place in Kenilworth, and you know, the history says that it was going to be like his way to propose to Elizabeth to get her to marry him, and nope, didn't work.
Didn't work.
You can throw out all the bells and whistles, and she's like, not going to happen.
Right. And that's how we need to think about power. She was smart to realize that her power was in her supposed celibacy and being single, right? It was
Yeah.
the only way she could rule on her own. Think about other important women that we've talked about throughout time and think about any of them. Did any of them rule in their own right? Because even Eleanor of
Yeah.
Aquitaine, she's, you know, she rules Aquitaine in her own right, but she becomes really, really um, powerful when she's Queen of England, Queen Consort,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So it's the power of the women, and I'll go back to Isabel again. It's usually attached to the power of a man, right?
Yeah. It is.
Yeah. So
It's
Margaret of Austria, think about Margaret of Austria. She's ruling in the Netherlands because Charles V is letting her rule the Netherlands.
yeah. Well, you just maybe find another parallel here. If we look at the relationship between Anne Boleyn and Catherine of Aragon, of course, we got Henry VIII in the background of that one, and Henry
Just
VIII.
like you have him in your office.
Yes, I know. Most time people can't see it on the episode.
Oh, it's true, it's true.
Only the
He
guests
is
can
there,
see it.
guys. He is there.
He's still there. And then on Elizabeth's side, we have Elizabeth and Mary, Queen of Scots. And who do we have behind the scenes pulling strings but men, like
Yes.
William Cecil and the spy master Walsingham, who are all trying to convince Elizabeth to do one thing or another. There's more parallels there for these two
Exactly.
women who maybe don't necessarily want to discard these women that we would probably call their nemesis now. They don't necessarily want to discard them, but also what can they do in that situation? Anne Boleyn didn't really have a choice but to go along with it and see what would happen with Catherine of Aragon.
Right.
She ended up dying, of course, before Anne Boleyn did, which kind of solved that problem for her. But with Elizabeth and Mary, Queen of Scots, I think that was such an impossible
Well, that's
thing
easy
for
when you
Elizabeth.
poison someone.
I knew you were going to bring up the poisoning of Catherine of Aragon. But and Elizabeth, what was she to do? Mary had been the Queen of Scotland. She abdicated her throne. She had intentions at one point to be the Queen of England. What do you do in that situation? It was like, that was so unprecedented. Just like Anne Boleyn and Catherine of Aragon, it was unprecedented for a king to marry again while there's still, I don't want to say technically a queen consort, because at that point their marriage was annulled between Henry and Catherine. But it all seems like such an impossible situation for these two women who were mother and daughter.
Yeah, again, it's very important to think that it's all happening at a time where it seems like all these dynasties are having such trouble to have reliable male heirs.
Yeah.
So it's just a crisis time, really. We have to
Yes.
think that women ruling is not ideal. John Knox wrote about this. It's a time where the ideal rule, even and that's why during for example, the reign of, and in this case, I'm going to do another parallel between Isabel I of Castile and Elizabeth of England. That's why we have so much propaganda of these women, and that's why we see them today as Gloriana or as the great Queen Isabel of Castile, is because there was an apparatus around them to create propaganda to overcome this moment of crisis that is a woman ruling, really.
Yeah.
Right? Because it was not the ideal situation. When you look at for example, the birth of the princesses versus the princes, it's so different. Mary the First, when Mary the First was born, was the first time that, at least that I know, that the birth of a princess was announced. Because Catherine of Aragon did it. Catherine of Aragon sent a message to Calais, to the Prevost of Calais, to announce the birth of the princess. But usually the birth, that's why sometimes we don't know about when these princesses are born. But on the other hand, look at when Prince Henry in 1511 was born. There was a tournament.
That's great. Big old party.
The big old party. This is what we need to think about, is that really it's abnormal that these women, it's abnormal for women to rule, and it's especially abnormal for a woman to rule without getting married and having children like Elizabeth did. So Elizabeth is really a very unique monarch, very truly unique monarch. We add that to something else that I think in this case mother and daughter have as parallel, which is their inclination towards having friends in the arts and being very interested in befriending poets and people who were into court life, right? In that sense. So I don't know if this is because because of Anne Boleyn, Elizabeth is like this. That's what I'm trying to get to,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. If only Anne Boleyn had more time with Elizabeth, how would that have changed her? You know, sometimes that's the type of stuff that I think about. If Anne Boleyn had lived longer, maybe even until Elizabeth was in her teens, you
Right.
know, how would that have changed Elizabeth as a monarch?
That's a good what if.
Yeah.
And what would have happened to Mary?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because one of the most sour relationships I've studied is the one of Anne Boleyn with Mary. Because I think Anne Boleyn is such a victim of abuse. First, she is like in this romance and showered by the king with all these things and this and
Yeah.
that and the other. And then when she's convinced and she goes for it, she starts to create big enemies. The
Right.
Queen, Catherine of Aragon, but also Mary, the princess, who is quite stubborn to like her father and is not as quiet and stoic as her mother and has a lot more to say about these things. And then there's that very famous incident when Anne Boleyn wants, after Catherine of Aragon dies, Anne Boleyn wants to become close to Mary, and Mary full on rejects her. That means, I think what that means is that at that point, it's already crumbling. People can see that it's already crumbling.
Yeah.
And that there was and we always see this story as a story of triumph of love between Anne and Henry.
Mm.
But there was a part of court that never, ever, ever accepted Anne Boleyn.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I'm thinking of Fun Guy and the big fallout with Fun Guy. It was like, I'm not doing anything fun anymore. I'm leaving, right?
Yeah. It's almost like after Catherine of Aragon died, Anne Boleyn thought, okay, this is a fresh start. Now I have a fresh start. I am the only queen consort in England now. There are no longer two, hypothetically, there are no longer two queen consorts. Now it's time to rebuild my reputation. Let me see if I can bring Mary on my side. And Mary's like, nope.
Yeah. And especially the fact that she's pregnant.
Yes.
And I think that and it's not a mistake, it's just life, just that's the way life goes. But I don't think Anne Boleyn had in her cards to have the same problem as Catherine of Aragon. I think that Henry was very good at convincing everyone that this was a problem of Catherine of Aragon
Yeah.
when it was really his problem.
Yes.
Because, like I said, he had two surviving sons that died in teenage years who
Yeah.
were never. So and we'll remind Henry Fitzroy and
Edward.
Edward, yes. So I think Anne Boleyn truly believed that she could have a son and never thought that she would go through the same thing as Catherine of Aragon. And she didn't have the support of the emperor saying, Henry, if you kill my aunt, I will invade England. Because, I mean, there were several war threats sent by Charles V. And there was even like an escape plan to take Mary out of England and everything. So the Spanish monarchy wasn't just like sitting there and then this happened, right? So I think, but at the same time, what was she going to do? How could she have behaved differently? That's a good what if.
Yeah.
How could Anne Boleyn have behaved differently? I don't think she could have.
Well, and some of it's just your personality. This is who you are, and Henry knew who she was coming into all of this, and then suddenly he didn't like it anymore. He was like, woman, know your place. And she's like, excuse me?
Well, first he thought it was cute, sexy,
Yes.
appealing, something fresh, something new.
Yeah.
But then, and we've talked about this again, Henry was a man, and it was a person, he was a human. When imagine all the loss he had with Catherine. She was pregnant 9 times, 8 times, I think. Imagine all those 9 pregnancies, plus the 2, 3 that Anne has, and the result is two daughters, and everybody's looking at you like you can't do this.
Yeah.
You are a mighty king that can't do the only thing that a king is supposed to do.
I find this interesting because relationship experts say that the thing that you fall in love with a person over is the thing that you end up hating the most about them. And I think that is your face. I think that's the truth when it comes to Henry and Anne, right? Because he fell in love with her great personality, her flirtiness,
Her freshness,
yeah,
her ability to give her opinion.
yes,
I mean, think about this. It was not just that she was involved in the Reformation. She was really involved in, they remodeled Whitehall Palace together. They had a project of remodeling this whole place together. Um, so it was a honeymoon phase for sure.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Was it the same for, what was it about Catherine that you think Henry fell in love with? Was it because she was
With
intelligent?
Catherine of Aragon?
Yeah.
I think it was the same thing, to be honest.
Mm.
We tend to see Catherine was outspoken. The thing about, we call her stoic and all that, just Catherine, I think, chose better when to be outspoken, or chose, or um, was more for the big times to be outspoken. But when she was young, and when Arthur dies, and she's in limbo for some time, and she becomes an ambassador, she's dealing and negotiating with Henry VII. So she's talking directly to him.
Right.
Henry VII even thinks of marrying her. So I think, I mean, she's out there. She's not like hiding in her chapel praying all day. She's negotiating an international alliance with, you should see the letters that she sends to her father, Fernando, where she calls him out. She's like, how can you let your daughter just wear rags? How can you? She's definitely, I think they're more similar. The thing that changes everything is queenship.
Yeah.
And this is an idea that we talked about in the beginning is, are you a consort or you're a ruling queen?
Right.
And once you become a consort, you're done. You can't be outspoken. The same, it's about being virtuous. It's about knowing how to behave because you're setting the standard for the whole court.
Yeah. Being slightly submissive to your husband. Yeah. All of that.
Slightly. And this is why I think one of his wives, Jane Seymour, is so misinterpreted because we only really know her as a queen consort.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
So that it's very different when you are a princess of Wales fighting for your I mean, and Henry had to admire that what Catherine was really doing was fighting for their marriage.
Yes, she was. Tooth and nail. She was going to do whatever she could to.
Exactly. So, I mean, what 12, 13-year-old boy doesn't like that, right?
Yeah.
This like 19-year-old being like, don't worry, we'll get married. I'll make sure. And then she just goes and talks in Latin to her father and negotiates. The first marriage that is negotiated for Charles V in England is negotiated by Catherine with Henry VII to marry Mary Rose Tudor. And that's sealed in 1508. So, and there's a great party in London done for this marriage. So she pulls off this. How could he not be in love with her? There's a moment where Catherine is complaining a lot to her father that she can't even see Henry. Because Henry VII is thinking that he might marry Henry VIII, future Henry VIII, to someone else. So he doesn't want them to spend time together in case something happens.
Somehow we always end on Catherine of Aragon, don't we?
Somehow.
It's hard not to, when we talk about Anne Boleyn, it's hard not to bring up Catherine of Aragon. Obviously, they played such big roles in each other's lives during that time. And that kind of brings me to the conversation of religion and the parallels between Anne and Elizabeth when it comes to religion. Obviously, we always look at Anne as the catalyst There's been some argument that Henry would have always tried to become the head of the Church of England just to be able to do whatever he wanted to. But I personally think Anne was the catalyst for those changes because of Henry's desperation for a male heir. You know, he wanted to be able to divorce his wife, and the Pope wasn't going to let him do it. So he's like, I'm going to figure this out on my own. And Anne's like, here's some books. Read these books. Here, let me put some ideas into your head, you know?
Well, and in that sense, I'll say two things. First of all, we have to think of the time, right? So 1517, Luther, all that. So it's happening in Europe.
Yes.
In the 1510s or in 1507, it wasn't happening.
Right.
So it's happening in Europe. Like I said, Henry likes to follow the trends in Europe. We see him as this very English monarch, but I always see Henry as a very European monarch, a guy who's very, very in tune with what's going on in Europe. So I would argue that's the first thing, right? There's a big debate in Europe whether the king is, they say, emperor in his own realm, right, or not. So he's getting in tune with this. The second thing is like, I'll say this, when Luther comes out and other, Catherine of Aragon also commissions books against Luther. So she's also putting books in Henry's hand. What we should talk more about is, was Henry gullible?
Yeah.
When he was in love with someone or obsessed with someone, did he listen more to that person than other people?
Right.
Because Catherine comes across as this person who is part of the old religion, but the Catholic religion was going through a change. Let's think about Erasmus of Rotterdam.
Yes.
Or Juan Luis Vives, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what's happening is it's a new time, it's a new era. The modern world is just a bit like now with AI and all that, right?
Yes.
It's a new time. So it's a time of crisis again. I'll go back to the time of crisis. So in a time of crisis, of course, people are going to go back and think and reflect about their faith.
Yeah.
Which is a foundation of, a lot of things, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's got to do more with the times and the spread of humanism, like I said, the education that Anne Boleyn receives and all that, than that the fact that it's Anne Boleyn per se, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think with Elizabeth, it's just, it's an obvious, it's a given, right?
Right. Her job is just to maintain what was started, to hold on to that as tightly as she could.
If you give me a kingdom and I'm head of the church too, I'd be like, yeah.
I can't even imagine what that kind of power would feel like.
And she was raised that way. She was raised that way. And again, education, what you're raised in is powerful. Because even if you look at the Anglican Reformation, it is so different to the other Reformations. It is so similar to the Catholic faith that Henry never really departed from his Catholic faith in many ways and respects, I think.
Yeah. No, I think almost everybody will agree with that. When we look at the end of his life, it seemed like he was still pretty Catholic, but he could just say he could make up the rules because he was the head of the Church of England.
Exactly. One thing that we haven't talked about, I know we're coming to an end, so we probably should bring it up, is, for all, two things. The physical difference between Anne Boleyn and Elizabeth is striking, right?
It is. She did not get her mother's features, other than, I think, her eyes. I think she had dark eyes, Elizabeth did, right?
She had such red hair.
Yes.
Right? That she's so much like Henry, that she almost looks like she could be more Catherine of Aragon's daughter than Anne Boleyn's daughter, right?
Yes.
Another thing that I wanted to bring up is something that it was featured in the exhibition Faces for Eternity in the British Museum, is the use of the falcon.
Yes.
The use of the falcon by Elizabeth so even though Elizabeth wasn't able to showcase her mother very proudly because of what had happened to her, she still found ways to do it and to honor her, right? And I think
Yeah.
that was nice of her to do. And also the phoenix, not the falcon. The falcon is Anne Boleyn, but the phoenix is also Sylvia Soberton has worked on this too. The way she brings back the phoenix, also because it's convenient. Think about a phoenix, right? A phoenix
Yeah.
is reborn from its own ashes.
That's right.
So yeah, she has several of her, in the case of the exhibition, several of her portrait medals that are where the phoenix is featured. So she still found ways to honor her mom, even though she couldn't do it a lot, right?
Yeah. I have to tie this into my recent Substack post about portraits. And of course, we look at the portraits of Anne Boleyn. There, we're learning that these were created during the time of Elizabeth. Elizabeth would have had them on display, but also I recently revealed that Elizabeth had a portrait of Thomas Seymour on display at Somerset House. And so I think this kind of shows us a side of Elizabeth where she wants to maybe correct these false narratives about people she was close to. She's like, she was given this portrait by John Harrington, who was a close personal servant of Thomas Seymour. His son, another John Harrington, was godson of Elizabeth I. And he brings her this portrait of Thomas Seymour with a beautiful poem on it, just basically saying what a great man Thomas was and how his death was unnecessary. And what does Elizabeth do? She hangs it up in one of her galleries for people to see. Like, that's probably one of the things that I like about Elizabeth is that she's not afraid to be like, okay, I know you guys have heard terrible things about these people, i.e., her mom and Thomas Seymour, but I'm not afraid to show you that I thought they were good people.
Yeah, or that they were important people and we need to give them a place. She had paired portraits of Isabel and Fernando too, because they're still in the royal collection. She had portraits of Charles V too.
Yes,
So
yes.
even though she was enemies with Philip, it didn't stop her to have those pictures because that was a way to show continuity too, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and I have connections to these great monarchs. I
yes.
wonder now, this is just off the top of my head. This is what an evil twin does in the last moment. Do we know why she was named Elizabeth?
I don't think we know exactly. I mean, there's speculation, right? Because her grandmother was Elizabeth
Grandmother.
of York. Her maternal grandmother was Elizabeth Boleyn, who was a Howard as well. So
Mhm.
Elizabeth is a pretty
She's
well
all,
known.
yeah. It's like
Yeah,
well, I mean, Isabel of Castile too. It's just a name that is
yeah.
pretty used, yeah, these it does. Isabel names her first daughter Isabel too, so it seems like the lines go like the male names are also reused, the female names are also used.
Yeah,
So
yeah, there's definitely patterns there.
yeah,
Well, this has been fun.
yeah.
I think we never know. Like, I feel like we come into some of these topics and we go, okay, well, I think we can talk about this for a while, and then before we know it, it's been an hour.
I know.
We always try, you guys. We talk about making these episodes shorter because we know the attention span of people are shorter. But it just doesn't happen, you know. You can listen at your own leisure, right? You can pause
That's
it and
right.
come back later and finish it.
You
And
can just take a nap too, and then wake up and we're still talking.
oh, please, if you fall asleep while you're listening to us, I will be offended. I'm sorry.
And you just have a nightmare about Henry VIII sending you love letters
Oh, I can't even imagine. That is
while
one.
you're like have the sweating sickness.
Yeah, that's one. I have never dreamt about this time period. That might seem odd for as much time as I spend
It's
in it.
scary to dream about it.
Yeah, I don't dream about history. I just have crazy dreams that don't make any sense. And so, whatever.
Yeah. No, it's not. I don't think it would be all of the good dream that we would think it would be. So it's better
Yeah.
not to, probably.
Probably. Well, next week, we're probably just going to have some kind of surprise for y'all.
Oh,
Who knows what we're going to talk about
maybe
next
Dr.
week?
Emma will be back.
Yeah, gosh, I want to say I hope so, but I didn't see too much of a difference between the two.
It's the laugh.
Oh my gosh, you guys. Well, thank you so much for joining me again for another fun Parallel Lives, which might be the last one for a while. And I will see you again next week.
Have a great day, guys. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to the latest episode of Dr. Emma and Me. If you enjoyed this episode, please take a moment to rate and review the show. It really helps more people find it. Don't forget to follow or subscribe so you'll know as soon as a new episode drops. And if you'd like to support what we're doing, head over to Patreon and become a patron. You'll get early access, bonus content, and more. Thanks again for being here. See you.
This podcast is brought to you by Carvana. Car shopping shouldn't feel like preparing for a marathon of paperwork. That's why Carvana makes buying and financing your car easy. From start to finish, search thousands of vehicles with great prices. All online, all on your time. And when you're ready, your new car shows up right at your door. It doesn't get better than that. Buy your car the easy way. On Carvana. Delivery fees may apply.
Well, the holidays have come and gone once again, but if you've forgotten to get that special someone in your life a gift, well, Mint Mobile is extending their holiday offer of half off unlimited wireless. So here's the idea. You get it now, you call it an early present for next year. What do you have to lose? Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Limited time 50% off regular price for new customers. Upfront payment required. $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6 months, or $180 for 12-month plan. Taxes and fees extra. Speeds may slow after 50 gigabytes per month when network is busy. See terms.
Next time.